I'm not ashamed. What do we learn about the tribe of Reuben from 1 Chronicles 5? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 1 Chronicles on walking through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verses 1 to 10, but before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 1, but if you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, 1 Chronicles chapter 5, beginning at verse 1. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, he was indeed the firstborn, but because he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given to the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel, so that the genealogy is not listed according to the birthright. Yet Judah prevailed over his brothers, and from him came a ruler, although the birthright was Joseph's. The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Joel were Shemaiah, his son, Gog, his son, Shimei, his son, Micah, his son, Reiah, his son, Baal, his son, Bera, his son, whom Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, carried into captivity. He was the leader of the Reubenites, and his brethren by their families, when their genealogy of generations was registered, the chief, Jeiel, and Zechariah, and Bela, the son of Azaz, the son of Shema, the son of Joel, who dwelt in Aror, as far as Nebo and Baal-Meon. Eastward they settled as far as the entrance of the wilderness this side of the river Euphrates, because their cattle had multiplied in the land of Gilead. Now in the days of Saul they made war with the Hagrites, who fell by their hand, and they dwelt in their tents throughout the entire area east of Gilead. In the first part of the book of 1 Chronicles, we have been given a list of the families in Israel, with the exception of chapter 1, where we were given the list of the families descended from Abraham other than through Isaac and Jacob. Thus far we have covered the tribe of Judah and the family of David, as well as the tribe of Simeon. We found that Judah was the largest of all the tribes in Israel from the time of the conquest all the way throughout their history. They were also the largest tribe returning from captivity, and it would be through their lineage that the Messiah would come. Simeon, on the other hand, was the smallest of the tribes, with even the Levites exceeding it at the time of conquest. Simeon received land within the borders of Judah, and slowly over time those cities shrunk, and many of the Simeonites moved elsewhere in Israel or to Mount Seir. Coming now to chapter 5, and we come to the actual firstborn of Israel, which was Reuben. In the last lesson, we discussed possible reasons as to why Reuben was discussed third and not first, and among them was the possibility that he was being demoted due to his sin with Bilhah, Jacob's concubine. Yes, that may not have been the whole reason, as geography seems to play a role too, but here in chapter 5, the chronicler does point out that sin as the reason that Reuben lost the birthright, giving further credence as to our supposition about his position in this list. Who did the birthright go to? Joseph, and specifically his two sons Ephraim and Manasseh. Back in the book of Genesis, in chapters 48 and 49, we noted as much. However, the text there didn't specifically mention that the birthright changed from Reuben to Joseph. We surmise that it did because the birthright entitled the holder of it to two portions of the inheritance which Joseph received through Ephraim and Manasseh. Here in 1 Chronicles 5, we get explicit confirmation of that fact, so we know that our conclusion there was correct. However, even with receiving the birthright, that didn't mean that Joseph was now listed first among the tribes, nor did it mean that he became the greatest tribe, for Judah would maintain that honor from him a ruler, the king, and the Messiah, Jesus, would ultimately come. Ephraim and Manasseh, especially Ephraim, would be great in Israel. However, Judah would be greater. As for the sons of Reuben, let's compare the list we found here in 1 Chronicles with the one found in Genesis 46, verse 9. First, 1 Chronicles 5, verse 3 says, the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Next, Genesis 46, verse 9. The sons of Reuben were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. As you can see, these lists are identical, and it is from these men that the children of Reuben came. Now there are two names listed that are also found in the lineage of Judah, namely Hezron and Carmi. These are different people with the same name, just as two families can have a Steve and a Dan, but these men be all different. That's what's going on here. The chronicler then relays to us that which we had learned in Numbers and Joshua, which was that the tribe of Reuben received their inheritance east of the Jordan, with their borders going from the Arnon River to the south, bordering Moab, all the way north into the plains of Moab, bordering Gad. However, we learned something that we didn't know before, which was that some of the families in Reuben had gradually expanded their territory eastward into the wilderness up to the days of Saul. So now that they had much farther eastern influence than they're often depicted as having. Now, this doesn't mean that the tribe of Reuben's boundaries always went this far east, or that they had control of it until the time of captivity, but it does show that due to their cattle's needs for grazing, families from Reuben did expand into other territory. However, during the reign of Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria, the tribe of Reuben was taken captive, something we'll cover briefly later on in this chapter. Just before closing, we must note that the chronicler skips a lot of generations of Reuben following the listing of the four original sons, for immediately after listing Reuben's four sons, he talks about the descendants of Joel. It is obvious that Joel is a descendant of one of these four sons, but the Bible never gives us a hint as to which one. The reason for skipping all of these generations is not entirely clear, but perhaps the intent is to simply come down to the generations closer to the exile, as the chronicler will make mention of that later in the chapter. Regardless, the tribe of Reuben, though being the firstborn of Israel, was not the holder of the birthright and was not a major force in Israel, with their people choosing instead to reside east of the Jordan. And as we saw in their history, this meant often that they acted independently of the nation west of the Jordan, though certainly were still a part of Israel. We'll continue with the tribe of Gad, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verses 11 to 22, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.